and on the part of the ruling class, and it certainly bloody did do. You know, was it therefore were we seeing a police state? Were we seeing that workers couldn't win? No. No. You know, it was clear that with a different strategy, the question of what police were doing would you know, it would have been possible to neutralise the police. It was a question of numbers. If we didn't, you know, if our side had mobilised the numbers and had a strategy from the very beginning that involved actively seeking solidarity, doesn't mean that you would have got it. You know, the circumstances were difficult. It does, you know, the fact that Thatcher had come to power, the fact that Thatcher had already started to do the things she'd done, the fact that the Falklands had happened, all those things had consequences for working class confidence. The defeat of the steel strike, all those things had consequences. I'm not saying those weren't there, but the fact is that with a slightly different strategy, some of the time it wouldn't have worked. But the fact that, for example, you had a tradition of solidarity amongst workers in the country that meant that a single placard without a single picket there could stop a train. You imagine that now?
Okay. I wonder, could you put it in some perspective, really, looking back, you know, from 2015, you know, how would you place the strike, you know, looking back on it now, and the consequences of the strike, do you think?
I think one of the most important things now is that you use it as an example to show what it means to you use it in defence of solidarity, defence of all the things that now the trade union bureaucracy, I mean, they were terrified of it in 1984, they're treble terrified of it now. You know, active solidarity, active picketing, mass picketing, workers talking to each other, the trade union bureaucracy being driven by the workforce, not the other way around. You know, all those things happened. They happened. A lot of us were there. We saw it happen. We spoke to the people involved in doing it. It's real. It's not something that we made up. And people would like to come up with explanations now. You know, there are all sorts of explanations after the fact now that, so, you know, the miners were bound to be defeated, you know, that the bonus scheme, you know, it undoubtedly had done a huge amount of damage, but it wasn't insuperable. But now, you know, we're told, you know, that it was the last gasp of the working class, and I think it's important for us to sort of say, no, absolutely it wasn't. This is what it was like. It was heady. It was brilliant for a lot, you know, for some time. It was certainly all the time. It was a vindication of the idea that workers can struggle, and even in defeat, they were magnificent. It was a cry of defiance, you know, against everything that we're seeing happen now, against, you know, corporatism, against privatisation, against, you know, the throwing of people on the scrap heap. It was an assertion of working class culture. You saw that in the soup kitchens, in the way that the women were. It was a practical example of what it means, of how women's liberation is related to working class struggle. You know, you saw this massive change from, you know, Yorkshire miner carrying topless pin-ups to this incredible struggle by the miners' wives. You saw it in the film, you know, the film that's come out recently, the way that, you know, miners who at one time might have been quite backward in their attitudes to sort of sexuality were completely won over, you know, to the fact that solidarity was being delivered to them by gay people. You know, it was a festival of the exploited and a festival of the oppressed. There's no doubt about it. It was hugely significant event. I think it's really important that we reclaim that. It's also very important, you know, it's very important that we're sober as well, you know, that we're not there simply to be cheerleaders and to pretend that defeats didn't happen. It was a shocking defeat, and it has had consequences up to this day. It has consequences up to this way. The cowardice of the trade union bureaucracy, which played a role in the defeat of the miners, was in turn reinforced and amplified by that defeat. And that is, you know, the shocking cowardice across the whole trade union bureaucracy is a consequence of that.
Okay, all right. Thanks very much for that, Mike.
But I mean, you know, what it does make, I mean, to finish, what it makes me feel, I'm not as active as I once was, but I have not got a single regret about any of the political positions that I've taken up. And it makes, well, one day, you know, we will avenge that defeat. We'll win, you know. And you can see You know, I've always argued that no struggle is ever wasted, that no struggle is ever wasted. Even the smallest of struggles, you learn something from, it gets banked somewhere. And, you know, a struggle as big as that, the lessons of it and the power of that are banked for us. They're part of our memory. You know, we will use those memories at some point to forge struggles that win. And no doubt about it, no doubt at all.
Okay. Thanks very much for that.